Delighted to welcome to the show this morning the Cork Senior Football Manager, John Cleary. Morning, John. How are things?
Good, thanks, Shane. Good, very good.
Thanks for hopping on. It is very good, I'm sure, after the weekend's result. I mean, 74th, 75th minute, I don't know what's going through your head, but when Roscommon are holding on to that ball, John, you must be thinking, this has either extra time or a Roscommon 1 point win written all over it, but you managed to get the ball back one more time, and the rest, I suppose, is history.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was really a roller coaster there in the end. They had the ball, we had the ball, they had the ball, and I suppose you were half looking at extra time, but look, we know from the past few weeks there, these games go right down to the last kick. So that's what actually happened the last day. So we were delighted to come out on the right side of it. Other times you mightn't.
To have taken these scalps this year as well, it feels like you've come a long way as a team since the game against Dublin, say for example in the All Ireland quarter final, like an 11-point defeat. It just feels like this is a completely different, experienced Cork team that have taken a couple of Division 1 scalps this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, look, last year wasn't the best year, and there was a lot of reasons for that. I think just starting off, we was coming out of COVID. There was a new management team in, and lads, we just couldn't get off the ground. Remember at the start of it, even getting together, we couldn't be in the same room together. The first matches we went to, everyone had to drive separately, so it was very, very hard to get the whole camp going and get across what everyone wanted to do. And 3/4 way through the league, we were really struggling, and then manager Keith got sick, and but for the rest of the season it was a case of just trying to steady the ship. And we even though we got beaten by 10 points by Kerry, we felt we competed with them in the championship for 45-50 minutes, and the same with Dublin. And I think last year, even though we were well beaten, coming away from that, there was a bit of hope there that if we could get a big off-season, good pre-season, and hit the ground running, that we could make progress this year. And I think maybe that's what's happened this year, really.
I think you spoke after the game as well, John, at the weekend about the occasion and how Cork football fans have been missing those kind of occasions, and when you have like 15,000 odd people in Páirc Uí Chaoimh with an atmosphere like it was brilliant to see. And not only that, but on the pitch as well, you go 7-3 behind, you come back from that, and then when Roscommon comes storming back from 5 points down to equalise, and all the momentum is with them, you must be impressed by I guess the mentality of your team, that you managed to still squeeze it over the line.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think we had a good league. In that we had some very good high pressure games, and the way the league was this year, it was really, for us, we might not have been in the championship, so it really got us used to playing these high pressure type games. And I think then when we did qualify for the championship, I think we were a bit battle hardened and ready to go, and we knew that if we got into these close matches and under pressure, we had the experience there with this group of doing that in the league. And look, every game that we've played this year in the championship has been a one-score game. So that's coming down the stretch. We have that bit of experience. Didn't go for us against Kerry, but look, we had got over the line against Louth and Mayo and against Roscommon the last day. So I do think what we went through in the league has definitely helped us. And to be in the game going into the last 5 minutes, I think we have a fair idea maybe how to do it. Maybe we mightn't get over the line every time, but I think we know how to close out games if the opportunity arises.
Yeah, John, I know the beauty of sport is just things happen that you're not expecting, and you have to deal with them then. But that must really matter a lot. That experience of constant tight games and not panicking when it gets there. Yeah,
I do think so. I think the games we lost this year, against Louth and against Meath in the league, against Dublin, against Clare in the championship, they were all close games coming down the stretch, and we didn't get over the line and we didn't manage them well. So I think we sat back and looked at the learnings from that, and I think we've put them into play there in the games that we have closed out. So in this championship, it's a game of inches. We see all the games the weekend came down to the very last play, and in a lot of cases the weekend before exactly the same. And so we're just trying to envisage that before we go out to keep ourselves in the game there right up to the last 5 minutes, and then try and put the experience we've had there into play. And look, sometimes it works, sometimes the other team has the same experience and we don't get there. But at least if you put yourself in that position, you have a chance, and that's all we ask the lads, to put themselves in a position to have a chance going in down the stretch. And you know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And look, the last couple of days we've had the bit of luck in those situations.
It's a long way from Killannon to Cork, so what's the crack with Kevin Walsh?
Yeah, look, like, Kevin is a great coach, and I suppose, look, when I was appointed last year, I picked up the phone to Kevin, and we just developed a relationship over a number of weeks, and then, you know, thanks be to God, he agreed to come on board. And
a number of weeks, so it took a while.
Well, I suppose, look, I'd say he was always mad for road, and he has proved that since. But you know, logistically, he had to get maybe one or two things in order, and once he did, you know, the football part, I think, as anyone that knows Kevin, is what he's excellent at and what he's very good at. And you know, once he was on board, it was hook, line and sinker, and you know, he's made an enormous contribution to our setup this year. Yeah.
How so?
I suppose, you know, he has his own unique way of coaching. He has his own unique way of getting his message across. He's very good with the lads. You know, I think everyone has bought into him. He's a very affable, personable, people's person. And, you know, when he needs to crack the whip, he does. And, you know, he's just blended in with the group excellently well, blended in with the management group excellently well. And, you know, for all those reasons, look, we're delighted to have him on board, and I think he has made an enormous difference, an enormous contribution to our setup.
Feels like, John, strength and depth and having a depth of talent on the bench is crucial to take that next step that you guys seem to have taken this year. Like, even look at the team at the weekend. Kevin O'Donovan scores the winning point, comes off the bench. Connor Corbett with the only goal. Chris O'Jones scored a couple of points, I think, as well when he came off the bench. And you've mentioned the league a couple of times as important in developing players. I think you used 27 different players or gave them game time, certainly over the course of the league. So has that been a priority for you from the start of the year to develop that strength and depth a little bit?
Oh yes, absolutely. I suppose, look, when we sat down at the start of the year as a management group and looked at our programme, you know, we realised, look, it was from the 1st of January, it was McGrath Cup, the league, into the Munster Championship, into the All-Ireland Series. And, you know, we realised there that there was going to be probably injuries and loss of form and different things along the way. So we needed to have as big a group as possible. And that's what we set out to do. Now, that doesn't come with its difficulties as well, in that you're trying to keep maybe 27 or 8 maybe players, or up to 30 players, happy, and, you know, a lot of them maybe not getting game time and getting frustrated. But in fairness, look, the lads have seen what we were trying to do, and they've, you know, some lads haven't even got game time yet, and they've put in an enormous effort. So that's what we had looked at the start of the season. We're going to lose players along the way, and we felt we had this a good panel and a pool of players that needed to come in if needs be, and that's what's happening at the moment. As I said, we have a few injuries, and the guys down along the line, you know, they're getting the reward now for the huge effort they put in all the winter, really, and the spring, and I think any team there, you know, particularly when we had to go through the preliminary quarter-final 3 weeks in a row, is fairly attritional. So you do need a panel, and, you know, guys are stepping up to the plate for us, and thanks be to God that's happening, you know.
What's it like at this stage, John? Because, like, the S&C, all the fitness work, presumably, like, you know, that you've built up your reservoir here, but, like, what's coaching like in the madness of this kind of schedule?
Well, I suppose it's really tweaking from week to week, and, you know, we have things we want to do, and some things work out and some things don't, and we just have a look, you know, back after the Sunday, you know, what has went right, what has went wrong, the things that have went wrong, we try to work on them again for the next weekend coming. And you know, it's fairly hectic, all right, because you know, we had only really a 6-day turnaround last week, and so it's not easy. But having said that, look, it's the same for the opposition, and at least we were at home last week, which meant that if we were away, it meant travelling on the Friday. So that small thing might have made the difference in a 1-point game last Saturday. But the games are great, as players like to play games. And once it's the same for everyone, possibly a small bit different now this weekend in that we're third week in a row. Derry, their reward for winning their group, had a week off last week, and it'll remain to be seen now for the weekend what advantage that will be for the teams that made it straight into the quarter final. But it is hectic. You go back the first day, you look back at what you did the week before, and then it's head down to prepare for the next opposition for the next few days, and you don't get an awful lot of time in that you don't have the players all day every day, and you just get the couple of hours couple of times a week, so you've got to cram everything into those few hours. But it's hectic, but it's enjoyable if you're winning.
You have had a couple of injury concerns as well, John. I know Brian Hurley, for example, Cathal O'Mahony, Sean Meehan, and Brian Hurley, I suppose, being one of these injuries that really hits your forward line, but of course at the weekend you still managed to perform and put over good scores. Will Brian be back for the weekend, do you reckon? How's his hamstring?
Yeah, that's 50-50 now. We'll go into training now and see what the medics say, see what Brian says himself. So look, we really won't know until the end of the week, really.
Do you lads there's a lot of talk about the provincial championships, and I know Cork haven't won. Well, next year I guess will be 12 years since your last Munster championship. Is the focus now completely switched away from the provincials to I guess the league and the All-Ireland series?
I'm not so sure. We took them as, we had 4 competitions this year. First one was the McGrath Cup, and when you're in that, you're taking it seriously. In the league, obviously, was very serious because your championship dictated that. But after the league finished, we really concentrated on the Munster Championship because we just wanted to make sure we were in the Sam Maguire. It didn't go for us. We had a poor result against Clare. And it left us scratching our heads for a few weeks to know where we were going to end up. And we were looking at games around the country at that stage. And look, thankfully we made it into the Sam Maguire then. But I think, we were taking the provincials very serious. This year we were very disappointed that we didn't get to a Munster final. And so I think from that point of view, and we would always, love to be playing Kerry. We were due to play them in Killarney this year if we got to a Munster final, but that didn't happen. So I think definitely there has to be a place for the provincial championships. But whether you keep the same format going forward, I'm not so sure because game after game after game, every Sunday something has to give, and I think things need to be tweaked a small bit, and particularly at this time of the year, if you could get even, an extra week between games, I think, the quality might be better. I think it would be easier on amateur players as well. But I think overall the system, I think, is moving towards maybe what should be ideal, but possibly not there yet, and I think definitely a bit of tweaking needs to be done with it.
Just finally for me, John, I remember it's 10 years now since Galway played Cork. Michael Meehan scored an unbelievable goal, and it was kind of a sporting tragedy that Michael Meehan didn't win All-Ireland with Galway. I think that was his last championship game. But what struck me that day was that Cork is this great county, over 500,000 people, loads of people living in Dublin as well. They just don't give a rat's arse about the footballers by and large, and like 14,000 or whatever in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, a lot of Roscommon people. Like I've always felt for Cork players, it must be tough to see the indifference. And I know it's more of a hurling county in some respects, but I presume it's 60 quid return on the train. I'm sure people will be able to put Cork fans up in Dublin. I presume it would mean a lot if they actually turned up and gave them some support, because Derry are going to get a lot of people in Croke Park.
Absolutely. We're thrilled with our core support. They're there with us all the time, and look, we've been, we need that support. When things go wrong, the critics seem to come out of everywhere, really. And but when even last Sunday week, in Limerick we were well outnumbered by the Mayo supporters, but after the game now there was a great feel good factor for both the management and the players when all the supporters there came on the field and were part of the team, and they were our hardcore supporters. And in fairness, in Páirc Uí Chaoimh last weekend there was fantastic support, and they were very vocal, and there was a great atmosphere. Even talking to the lads after, it was probably the first time ever that a lot of the players had actually encountered that atmosphere, in a Cork shirt. And look, the only way I presume we can get more people to go and to travel is to, keep putting up performances, keep giving 100% every day. And I think that's what supporters want. Look, probably most of our core supporters in West Cork, which is 60 miles away from the city, it's probably a 4-hour trip to Dublin, so it's not easy for a lot of them. But look, we would be thrilled if we can get any bit of support, to travel there next Sunday, because even in a close game like we had against Roscommon in Páirc Uí Chaoimh the last day, I think that support probably was maybe the difference for us getting over the line, and particularly when they were so vocal and got behind the team coming down the home straight. And the only way, as I said, that we can grow the support is to keep, giving performances and giving 100%, and hopefully get back to the day even when I was playing there, late 80s, 90s, regularly we were taking thousands upon thousands to Croke Park, and like the old adages, look, the supporters will get on and follow a successful team, and until we get to that, maybe we just have to bide our time, but hopefully gain a few every week we go out and get it up to a stage where it was back in the 80s and 90s, and that would be fantastic again.
Absolutely, build it and they will come. 1:45 p.m. on Sunday. John, listen, just the Ulster champions stand between yourselves and the last four of the All-Ireland series, so best of luck at the match of the weekend, and as you say, hopefully a big Cork support, so all the best for the match.
Yeah, thanks, no problem.